I'm not actually sure if we're going to finish this last one, but we will give it a go. Okay, well, we get our choice of playing black or white, or both. I think we're probably just going to play black and white, is going to be my guess. Alright, so white gets Humiliation, Unicorn, Dustguard, Horn, Schwinga, Soldier, Steadfast. Here's something. Flaming Fist, Rally, 2 Rasads, Champion of Tyr, Paladin. Disciples, maybe? Maybe not, but it's interesting. Black gives us Armor of Shadows, Shambling Gas, 2 Ghouls, Slod, 2 Sewer Plague, Skullport, Spawn, Bounty, Saravok, Hourglass Coven. Okay, so we may have too many playables. Gate. I could play Icewind Stalwart or Pegasus Guardian because they like hypothetically synergize with Hourglass Coven, but like you don't usually lose when you resolve Hourglass Coven, and I kind of hate both of these cards. Let's go cut the Unicorn, cut the Flaming Fist Officer, probably actually cut the Slod, which is unusual. I don't really want to play Disciples if I don't have to. Maybe I'm supposed to, though. Stalwarts Flicker Witches? Yeah, but then we have to, like, cut stuff, and there is no card here that's worse than Stalwarts. I mean, the Stalwarts do also synergize with Vampire Spawn and also synergize with Skullport Merchant. Don't really synergize with Rasad. There's not a lot of token production. What else do we cut here? I guess here's something unwatched. This is probably a good example of a time where it's not embarrassing to cut. So then if we have more cuts here, we could play the Stalwarts. I think having 2 3-drops that we're interested in blinking in addition to a 6-drop that we're interested in blinking makes the Stalwarts not embarrassing. Think Armor of Shadows is meh? I disagree. I think I just like actively want to play Armor of Shadows every time I open it. I think that this is an aggressive format where getting tempo advantage wherever you can is really important, and Armor of Shadows is frequently a big tempo advantage for 1 mana. Got Flaming Fist for Unicorn. Flaming Fist Dustguard? I actually really dig Flaming Fist Dustguard. It's an aggressive creature that trades well early, and pumping either Vampire Spawn or Skullport Merchant is a pretty big deal. Like, I've just generally been impressed with Flame Fist Dustguard. Not unhappy playing it about 100% of the time. Schwing is a cut. Oh, we do have a lot of 2-drops, but I don't think Schwinga's bad. If anything, I think Schwinga kind of fills the role of Icewind Stalwart in terms of being something that can produce a flicker effect while also being a protection spell for, like, Champions of Tyr. Oh, right, we have colorless cards. That's a good point. We also have a splashable Liara if needs be, and we have a fraying line we have to find room for. In that case, it's probably Rally Maneuver. I really thought I was going to be impressed with Rally Maneuver, but realizing that it can't actually target the same creature with both modes has kind of brought me down on it. I agree that Unicorn is good. I do like Unicorn. I don't know that I like Unicorn more than Dustguard. In most pools, we have 5 2-drops if I cut the Dustguard. Schwinga versus Dustguard. Am I really favoring Schwinga in that? Probably. I mean, I do like Steadfast Unicorn with Champions of Tyr and Hourglass Coven. We have a lot of go wide. Unicorn over Armor of Shadows? No, I'm definitely not interested in cutting Armor of Shadows. I think that I'm more interested in cutting Disciples, Dustguard, Devoted Paladin. I think I'm more interested in cutting these cards than Armor of Shadows. I'm not sure whether I would prefer to cut Flame Fist, Dustguard, or Rescuer Schwinga. Uncertain on that. Unicorn's good for Horn too. Yeah, that's fair. We have a huge amount of token production that probably warrants playing the Steadfast Unicorn. I have not been terribly impressed with Disciples, so maybe that's the cut. We are relatively capable of being aggressive. Is Disciples maybe better than Paladin? I don't know. We go wide. I think I want to cut Dustguard. Or I think I want to cut Disciples. I think Disciples is the worst card when we're behind, and I think that I'm not worried about this deck needing additional help when we're ahead. Disciples is good. I've yet to actually have it be meaningful. Disciples seems to me like a card that, if you want to define things by quadrant theory, Disciples is good when you are ahead on tempo and on board. But like the second that your opponent has a decent board, or even a decent board that's like somewhat close to you, it's pretty hard for Disciples to be meaningful for the amount of mana that it costs. So I think I like this. I don't hate Stalwarts. I do think that Stalwarts actually has a home in this list, or in this kind of list. I think this particular deck is just a little too busted to actually do that. Any thoughts for Pegasus here? No. I'm just generally not on playing Pegasus unless you are scraping the bottom of the barrels of playables. I have been deeply unimpressed by the card every single time I've seen it played. The creature half of it is way too expensive. 6 mana is not what that card is worth for the stat lines. Its stats just don't line up very well as a flyer. I don't like this on the draw, but I do like this more than mulliganing. And the 2 mana flicker effect I have found to just not be enough impact for the amount of mana you have to spend on it. You hear something on the watch I do think that is pretty good, but I also don't think you need anthems with Go Wide in this format, really. No 2-drops. I put every 2-drop in the deck specifically so that we wouldn't be in this position. My opponent taking things very, very slowly. I do not mind. Would I rather play Skullport Merchant or Vampire Spawn? I suppose Skullport Merchant protects itself and also blocks Trelisara if it gets a +1/+1 counter. I think the Disciples hurt the opponent harder than Paladin. I don't know that I agree with that, because Paladin actually just like blocks well when you are incapable of attacking. Dread Linnorm. So Armor of Shadows doesn't actually accomplish much here then. Okay. So I guess I'm sewer plaguing it? But I still need answers to Dread Linnorm, too. Yeah, this might be a significant problem. Dawnbringer Cleric. Okay, so they choose Gain Life. I could Humiliation. That doesn't accomplish much. That actually makes the Trelisara big enough that I can't trade with Paladin, which was my goal. But I guess I can trade with Paladin plus Armor of Shadows. It would be a good time to draw one of my good cards. How many gates do you got, opponent? 1 gate and an off-color splash. Okay. Ghoul. I'm gonna guess Ghoul's worse than just playing the Devoted Paladin and representing the double block on Trelisara. So, continuing your earlier thoughts about Moradin's Disciples, this is exactly the kind of position where I think Devoted Paladin is fine, and where Moradin's Disciples would be kind of heinous. You have a land drop to play your giant worm opponent. Yes. Concerningly so. Okay. Am I to believe then that they are not attacking with Trelisara? That appears to be the case. So let's go ahead and Sewer Plague the Linorm. Do we jam the Paladin? Or the Ghoul? Probably. Which one do we jam? I mean, I actually don't want to lose... I don't actually want to lose this treasure when I have a bomb 6-drop in my deck. Maybe that's incorrect, but I don't think that I have a strong incentive to play out more lands or more creatures right now. Minimus containment? Okay. Well, that does get Trelisara through. I guess I wound up with a reason to play a spell after all. 9 damage would be a lot of damage. Well, I guess I'm at 6 then. Lulu. Okay. Giving another creature flying is a problem. Could I draw a good card now, please? Land. Sometimes those are good. Dear me. Alright, Steadfast Paladin's going to have to do a lot of work for us here. So Linorm gets in. Oh, dear me. Older has flying, huh? Oh, wow, they should have copied Linorm. They didn't. That was like mostly lethal, opponent. But okay. What are we killing here? Lulu to fizzle this trigger, but then Older still has flying. Yeah, I think I have to kill the Older, right? We're making a white Lulu that's going to have double team as a legendary Lulu. Okay, well, I don't care about that then. Yeah, I take 2. They get a legendary. I take 4, huh? I think that I try to bait them into putting these in the wrong order, so that they only kill vampire spawn. Okay, well, they did not put them in the wrong order. So if I save Steadfast Paladin and gain the maximum amount of life, Well... Am I supposed to save the ghoul? I don't think I'm supposed to save the ghoul. Am I supposed to save the ghoul? I think I'm supposed to save the ghoul. I don't know if that was like the wrong order. Oh. Oh, that's pretty amazing. Should I just equip the paladin this turn? How much does that cost? 5 mana? So I could make a 1/1 and equip the paladin, start gaining life. How liable to die am I? Not that liable, right? No, I can still swing with the paladin, so I'm functionally at 6 life. Cool, 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 cool. I knew we had a lot of really good cards in this deck. It would have lived? Which would have lived? Because as its previous turn, I'm assuming? I had to sack something to save the paladin, or else I could have just lost the ghoul and pumped the paladin, which would have gained 1 more life and left us with a 2/3 instead of the ghoul. Maybe that's correct? I don't know. Alright, Lulu does 2 damage to us, and they can't play the other Lulu. They really should have attacked to get the double team trigger off before using the specialization. Hourglass Coven. That's so good! But we're not going to play it. I would like to make a really big lifelinker and not have you have removal, please, opponent. Thank you. Okay, I would like to attack for gain 10. And also for more damage, I guess. But once you sack the vamp, you're committed to saving the ghoul to not 3-for-1 yourself. I mean, I could have just chosen not to use the combat trick. Right? Oh, hold on. I would like to sack a 1/1. Oh, this results in me doing 1 less damage with Paladin. Opponent, you're so clever. That's probably fine. Oh. Breath weapon on the splash. Yeah, fair. That was extremely good. Why would you splash breath weapon? In your Trellisara Celestial Unicorn deck? That's kind of absolutely insane, but I guess you got me. I'm really lucky the Steadfast Paladin pumped itself so it didn't die. I'm kind of reeling from that moment. They absolutely should have blocked the Steadfast Paladin with the Dawnbringer Cleric if that was their idea, but I think they didn't realize that it pumped itself either. Alright, well let's play this bomb that pumps our Steadfast Paladin because our bombs synergize with our other bomb. Let's see. I would love to drain my opponent so I could gain more life, I think. I would love to drain my opponent so I can gain more life. Bonk. Did you also splash Dragonfire? No. Okay. Cool. We're at 13. Back to stable. Alright. Drain 2. Drain 2. Play our creature pre-combat because I remember that my creatures pump my other creatures. Swing for 7 lifelink. Casually up to 24 life. I guess it wasn't even close, was it? I feel like they were probably supposed to activate their gate rather than cast a ramp spell that puts a gate into play. But, what do I know about what their hand looks like? Speaking of, let's activate our gate, see what our hand looks like. Schwinga. So you're saying I can bounce Hourglass Coven, huh? Now that sounds like fun. Okay. Alright. Current life total, 35. Opponent activates gate. They play the 2/1 that's hard to cast, that doesn't have any synergies, but it does have first strike. So let's go ahead and pick up this hour. No, come back, opponent! I'm never going to get two Hourglass triggers in the same game, am I? Okay, so we have a choice of which really good 2-drop to play, and then a really good 3-drop, and then a bomb 4-drop. So I guess we're just going to hope we draw a white source? Genasi Rabble-Rouser. Well, that's downright annoying. That card's extremely good. Yep, my Dust Guard does not look great into Rabble-Rouser. Or into the other Rabble-Rouser. I could play Rasad on 3. Well, now that my opponent has played Fire Beetles, I really want to play Rasad on 3. You want to trade, opponent? No? Okay. Alright. Play Rasad. Turn it into a 3/2. Exile Fire Beetles. No double team for opponent this turn. So if I block Rabble-Rousers, they can pump Rabble-Rousers and then play the other Rabble-Rousers, which is pretty not great for me. Don't think we're going to go that route. We do need some land drops. The good news is Rasad baits removal, which clears the way for our champions of tier. Nope. That was actually pretty bad, deck. We actually kind of don't like that. Was sort of hoping we'd find a 4th land by the time we got to the 4th land part of the game. So I have no good way to double block Fire Beetles. I also don't have a good way to block the other Fire Beetles. Oh, God. Alright. Well, then. That's a problem. Alright, opponent. I'm assuming you just end up not activating anything and take your 2 trades and then play your Beetles. They can put 0 damage on Ghast. They can. I'm fine with that. Because I still trade with the Fire Beetles, and they eat up their entire turn. Essentially, they're activating Unicorn and spending 4 mana to... Oh, or they kill the Ghast. It's actually really what I didn't want them to do. Because now I have to kill the Rabble-Rousers. And not make a treasure and rely on top-decking a land. Oh, dear. Oh, deck! We kept 3 lands! Help me out! We're gonna do that thing where we have a bunch of bombs, so every game has to be creative and exciting, isn't it? Yeah, all right. There we go. Okay. All right. All right. Add some tenseness to every game, why don't we? Do you have removal opponent? I'm not blocking. You can be very confident in that. There's definitely no way you want to activate Steadfast Unicorn. Double team. No blocks. Absolutely uninterested. Do you have first strike? Does this give first strike? Oh, wow. I had no idea there was a bit of text on unexpected allies that gives first strike. Fancy. All right, let's get that double team going. And make a life linker. Yay! Okie dokie. No. That's mean. I really needed that life linker to be life linked. Ghoul. Okay. I could play Green Bounty and be guaranteed to get Hourglass Coven next turn, but I actually think I'd rather just have more blockers plus a removal spell up. Is that actually true? That might not actually be true. The problem with Grim Bountying the Unicorn is that I'm pretty close to actually just dead on board if they find a removal spell again off the top. Whereas if I Sewer Plague, Sepulchre Ghoul, I guess I'm giving Sepulchre Ghoul lifelink. That's probably better. Would I rather kill the Genasi Rabble Rouser than the Unicorn? I could just Grim Bounty the Rabble Rousers. Then I'm not actually super dead. Okay, I think that's probably fine. Probably fine. They're only on 6 mana, so they're not in danger of double activating on Fire Beetles, which also wouldn't be lethal anyway. Flying Hourglass Coven? Oh, no. Absolutely not. We are going lifelink Hourglass Coven. Down to 4. Swashbuckler gives double strike to the Fire Beetles next turn, which would be very scary if it wasn't for the fact that we have a life linker and also 2 other bodies. All right, 2 Hags of Inner Weakness. Deal. I think I might still lose if the opponent just like top decks Dragonfire. So we have a threatened 6 power, or 3/3 double strike menace that I have to sack 2 things to kill. I think they're actually supposed to attack with Unicorn here. I think they kind of messed up. Oh, but because they attacked with these other things, I can just throw the Hourglass Coven in front of like the Flaming Fist Officer, go to 1. Then also make this block. Hags kill the Unicorn. Sewer Plague kills the Fire Beetle. Is this fine? I think this might be fine. I wonder if I would actually rather trade off the Inner Weakness Hags and keep the lifelinking body. I don't think that's correct. No, I think this is it. I'm certainly leaving myself dead to a lot of things. And then I actually also have to kill my opponent at some point. Which is like asking a lot. Should I actually attack with a hag then? Which gives me an Armor of Shadows. Yeah, I guess I'm actually supposed to attack with a hag. Am I supposed to attack with 2 hags? If they don't block at all, I still get to Sewer Plague and then Armor of Shadows. I think this is fine. Am I supposed to Sewer Plague before blocks? No. Well, if I do its Giant Fire Beetle, I guess yes, actually. I think I want to get that 2 damage in. And I think I'm forced to Sewer Plague that Beetles no matter what. Okay, so I need them to top deck no burn. Or they could top deck burn. So did we have any options there that were correct that would have played around that? Oh, the Fireball. No. I can't think of anything else I could have done that would have been a better move on any of those turns. Just attacking with 1. But attacking with 1 gives them more turns of top decking outs. And there are very, very, very few outs that reward me for keeping an additional blocker back in that spot. And if they top deck Provocation, I'm still trading 2 of my creatures away with their 1 thing, so I'm still not actually even in a position where I'm beating Provocation. No, I don't think that's what I'm supposed to play around. Not attacking is wrong. I'm at 1 life. I have to attack. Giving them more turns to top deck ways to do 1 damage to me in a red deck is not acceptable. Unfortunate, but yeah, no, I think that was all correct. Alright, I'm ready to be hurt again. Alright, well, we hit our 4th land drop, so that's an improvement over last game. Dear me, dear me, dear me, dear me. If the opponent passes with 3 mana up, I don't think I bother playing Rasad. But they did not. So I would rather reduce the amount of life I lose than deny my opponent life gain in this position. They kill the Rasad, they get their creature back. I am not willing to trade, opponent. Morden's Disciples. Sometimes useful, currently not. Alright. Might as well swing for 2 because I'm not blocking. I wonder if it's actually better for me to not swing, so that it would have lower power and toughness in the graveyard? Huh. That might almost be relevant. Okay, so if they swing here, which they shouldn't do... I mean, I guess I'm just supposed to take Hourglass Coven next turn, right? I assumed they didn't want to trade the Paladin, but, like, I guess maybe they valued gaining life. I assume I'm just supposed to play my Busted Coven. Let's just play Busted cards. It's generally pretty good. Would I like to drain my opponent or make 1/1s? I would prefer to drain my opponent. Would I prefer to make my opponent discard or do something useless or do something useless? I would prefer to make my opponent discard. And now the reading of the hags begins. Ambergris. Okay, yeah, that's a scary card. I mean, I mostly don't care. I don't want them to have Ambergris. So maybe I'm supposed to block with Hourglass Coven? On the other hand, okay, wait, my opponent's at 28, so my plans to play Devoted Paladin and swing for 12 are, like, not actually very impressive. Huh. Yeah, I think it's pretty important to deny my opponent card advantage. Ancient Gold Dragon, discarded, and immediately we draw the thing that synergizes with Hourglass Coven. Ooh. How very mean of my deck to tease me like this. I have no desire to block the 3/2 with any of my creatures that I would prefer to have not die. More Disciples. Moradin's Disciples. Very well. Opponent goes empty-handed. We attack with Champions of Tyr, which has a delightful double team ability. We play Champions of Tyr, which has a delightful double team ability. Oh, well, I know, I guess it doesn't. But it's got a delightful lifelink ability. That's the important part. It's just as good with Champions of Tyr. If I wanted to, like, bounce a Champions of Tyr in response to the double team activation, I guess, but I didn't have enough white sources for that to be reasonable. And we tap down Champions of Tyr. We put Moradin's Disciples in hand. Opponent gets to play Steadfast Paladin, and then discards the other Moradin's Disciples. So, yeah, I mean, Lord Ravengard is a heck of a card. But hags continue to do the hag thing that's kind of completely insane. So let's go ahead and give our entire team Vigilance. And also, apparently, this Paladin lifelink. I definitely didn't forget about that part. Except I did. Okay. So that game demonstrates what happens if in the previous game we get land drops. Very resentful that the game rules won't let me give a creature double flying. Does that counter actually stop you from giving a double flying, or is it just the interface? Because you can sometimes choose to give a creature double flying. Alright. This hand's bad, but we're on the draw, so all we have to do is find a swamp. Oh, unicorn. We have a 1-drop. Prophetic Prism for our opponent. Alright, that's not a 2-drop, so I dig that. And we have a swamp. We've done it. I have to say, I'm pretty sure there's, like, literally no way we could lose this game now. We are seeing a lot of Vladimirs and Godfreys today. Alright. No more lands yet, which it could be a problem in the long run, possibly. My opponent does nothing. Curious. We miss a land drop. That's a little awkward. Opponent continues to do nothing. Fascinating. Alright, well, I could hold up Armor of Shadows. I should probably hold up Armor of Shadows. My opponent didn't have a removal spell on 4 last turn. They're not going to find one this turn, right? I don't need to try to save my Rasad. Priest of Ancient Lore. Okay. That honestly could be way scarier than the currently not scary. Land drop. Uh-huh. Alright, well, let's swing at everything, see if they block with the Priest, and then debate whether I'm supposed to Armor of Shadows because of me being a coward or whatever. If my opponent has Armor of Shadows and I go to pump the Steadfast Unicorn, it's such a blowout here. I guess it's not that big of a blowout because I still get to sack the Rasad for an additional 2 points of damage. Or they could just have nothing. That works too. Okay, well, this wasn't how I anticipated that we were going to, be in a decent position in this game. No, oh, okay. I was really expecting to get Hourglass Coven after I've been tempting fate so hard for this entire match. Feels kind of weird that that hasn't happened yet. That's a really curious timing for concession. I mean, kill Rasad, get a creature, block Ghoul. I guess if they don't have a way to do anything else to block the other Ghoul. This is very clearly a sealed deck as I come in here to see too many good cards on the field and in your hand. Did we have good cards on the field? I felt like I had a pile of 2/2s on the field. Maybe those, I mean, they are pretty good 2/2s, to be fair. Alright. Is sealed always unranked? I believe sometimes they've done ranked sealed. Maybe not. Actually. But generally, yes, I believe it's unranked. Wow, we are just continuously on the draws here, huh? Champions of Tier. I do appreciate that. That's pretty good. Nantuko Husk is Pioneer legal. That definitely was part of a Magic Origins era deck. Oh my. Natalia. I don't feel like letting my opponent draw cards, so I guess we're going to keep Rasading on 3. That has become a theme. Ah yes, the good old splash for cantrips. Ooh, the good old lots of double white cards. Okay. Saravok isn't doing much. White is first strike, right? I mean, maybe granting first strike would be reasonable. It's got more power than I mean, I guess I'm supposed to play it just because it's a 3/3 and that's better than Vampire Spawn being a 2/3. No, my opponent has a 3/3. Oh, well, I guess I could kill the 3/3 and fix for my double white. That works. This is a weird game of Sealed in which I have played bad creatures at every point on the curve, but my opponent has played no creatures at every point on the curve, and that makes mine better? I kind of want to just discard this Flaming Fist Duskguard and do nothing else with my turn, because then I get to swing with 2 3-power first strikers. I guess alternatively I could play a Horn and equip a Horn, which is also a kind of boring use of my mana. Alright. Activate. Discard Flaming Fist, Dustguard. Hope the opponent doesn't have some kind of response to blow me out for being kind of greedy. Combat. Swing with everybody. Play Vampire Spawn. I'm in trouble if the opponent doesn't block the Shambling Ghast, though. Alright. No, wait. I'm not in trouble if the opponent doesn't block the Shambling Ghast. Because if they don't block the Shambling Ghast, then I just kill them with Vampire Spawn next turn. Oh, wait. I did my math wrong. That's a lot more damage than I was expecting. Oh, so if they blocked the Shambling Ghast, it actually was just lethal. Yeah, that was probably fine. What's our record so far? Overall, in sealed, or for this run? Because I forget. This broken deck. We've definitely picked up one loss to not finding any lands. Oh yeah, Untapped actually should have the records. I only recently figured out how to find out your limited records on Untapped. It is kind of really awkward. You have to like change a bunch of filters that by default go to constructed. But yeah, okay, actually, if you type that deck, ooh, wow, that command works perfectly. Takes you straight here. We are 4-1. Neat. And we have been on the draw in all 5 games thus far. If that doesn't say that there's like some sense of karma to the way that Arena determines who's on the play or the draw, I don't know what would. Alright, this time around we are on the play. And we have a 1-drop. So things are looking up. Now we have to make the tough call of whether we play Schwingon too. The answer to which is typically, yeah, we do. Githzerai though. Am I going to trade my Schwinga with a Githzerai? I don't want to, but probably. Decline. Nope, we're not. Aha! Never don't have faith. Always have it. Punish the opponent. For your sealed, it says 74% win rate. Yeah, that's because it just deleted all the older ones. And now it says 76% for me. $51-16 in the last 7 days. Let's see. I guess there's no point in pre-combating Saravok here. Sweet. Shambling Ghast dying means that we are guaranteed a treasure, which lets us play Devoted Paladin next turn. You know, if that's something that we want to do. It also puts a creature in the graveyard for Saravok. Alright, opponent, you gonna play like a big creature or something? 5 mana 4/4? Ooh, 5 mana 3/4, not really good enough, opponent. Let's see. Now, I'm assuming I want to kill the Water Weird. If I play Devoted Paladin and swing with Saravok, it's swinging as a 5-power creature, which does not actually trade well. So, I guess I have to do the Sewer Plague. So if I pump Sarevok and swing, it's got 4 power, which means if they double block, I kill both. If I pump Schwinga, though, I can never kill both their things, but I do push through more damage. I guess I'm probably supposed to pump the Schwinga. I could have also discarded Soldiers of the Watch to swing with both creatures as 4 power. 4 power first strikers. That actually would have been better. Specialize was better. I kind of assumed I was going to try to 2-for-1 them, but then realized this line was actually better anyway. But it was also better last turn. Sylvan Shepherd, okay, that's fine. Oh, yeah, all right, Specialize. Turns out to have been massively better. But at least now the Devoted Paladin's pretty solid. Opponent's life total kind of low, but opponent has a lot of cards and a lot of mana, so we're going to need to draw some bombs from here. Yeah, that's a bomb. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Okay, so we have hit the point where we are at a board stall. Vampire Spawn doing damage is cool. Alright, well, I guess we flood the board then. Hope the opponent doesn't find dragons off the top. And no attacks. Okay, Expressive Iteration. So the gist of Expressive Iteration is that... I'm going to try to do this one real quick since we're in the middle of the game. Expressive Iteration is an interesting card that scales in power with the average cost of other cards in your deck, and some other little features like how much of your deck is okay being played at sorcery speed. Like counterspells, generally not super great with Expressive Iteration. Basically, the power level of Expressive Iteration is a function of how frequently... How do I want to block this? Do I have to lose Devoted Paladin here? I actually really don't want to lose Devoted Paladin because it's one of the better attackers into their current board. I can't take the hit. I could chump block, but then I've got to deal with this thing every turn from now on. What would I do if they have the +2/+2? Gives them 7. I guess this plays around the +2/+2. It doesn't in the sense that they're actually just better off playing the 7/6 half than casting the +2/+2 half. If you don't, can't you swing wide to win? So I have to chump block with something, because otherwise they get a food, and then they get to make a creature. And there are a lot of creatures in this spellbook that just instantly win the game. Yeah, that's pretty awful for me. So I have no capacity to attack here. I could choose to not Grim Bounty this turn to try to trick them into attacking and setting me up for lethal next turn, but I don't think there's any way that that actually successfully sets me up for lethal, so alright. You just put the counterspell to hand? Right, but imagine scenarios where you hit multiple counterspells, or you hit multiple things you don't want to play at sorcery speed. Basically, if Expressive Iteration has the opportunity cost of forcing you to do things at times that are bad to do them, then it is a weaker card. Because a large percentage of your deck is something that you can cast on turn 3 in formats where you have stuff like Ragavan and Lightning Bolt, Expressive Iteration is a more powerful card in those formats as a result. Whereas Standard, you can't really reliably Expressive Iteration on 3 and cast 2 spells unless you get 2 cards unless you hit exactly a land. You gonna bounce my Rasad? No, you would have played the creature if you could. Alright, so if I attack with everything here, I get to play the Soldiers of the Watch. They can't kill the Rasad in that case, So they block the Soldiers of the Watch, block the Rescuer Schwinga, block the Rasad, go to 2. That's not actually very good for me. I think I actually have to Dirtle, which is unfortunate. Ugh. But yeah, I'm pretty sure attacking with any combination of cards there is bad for me. Okay, 2-4. That's good, dirtily. Alright, well, I got bombs I can draw. No, Ghoul's reasonable. Let's go for it. Let's draw some bombs before the opponent, please. Traverse the Outlands. Oh dear. That's a lot of deck thinning. And to think that we would be in a really, really good spot here had I just correctly specialized the Seraphoc on a specific turn. Goes to show how much very small interactions make huge deals. Alright, so we got Champions of Tyr. We've got the Witch. We've got the equipment would be very good right now. Lands are not the best. Wait, should I have been attacking with Sepulchre Ghoul this entire time? Probably. Wait, should I be attacking with everything right now? Maybe? I don't know. Math leader. I forgot Sepulchre Ghoul had an ability. Okay, so this results in me killing their Myconid and Scale Singer. And killing the Scale Singer would be good. I got no problem with that. And also they take 4? Okay. Well, this worked out. Somehow. It does let them attack with Sylvan Shepherd. I guess that's kind of bad. I mean, only if they roll a 20. Otherwise, we still netted damage. Whoa. You're really not swinging with the Shepherd opponent? I feel like you should probably swing with the Shepherd opponent. So now if we swing with the Rasad... Well, if I swing with everything, they can't double block the Rasad? Interesting. Alright, let's play the Sepulchre Ghoul pre-combat. I don't think I'm likely to need to sack the other Sepulchre Ghoul, but I might as well have the option to. Return Rasad to my hand. Yeah, that's fine. So now they can double block my Ghoul with Guild Thief and Githzerai. No, actually, Guild Thief and Circle of the Moon Druid's even better. That block means I get to sack soldiers for free. That block doesn't make a lot of sense. That block is kind of just wrong. Okay, as it stands, these blocks are just incorrect. What they wanted to do was put the Githzerai not blocking. Yeah, put the Githzerai in front of the Sepulchre Ghoul. And the 1/1 in front of the soldiers, which would result in Vampire Spawn not getting to kill anything. And if I sack the soldiers to make my ghoul not die, then they would keep a 1/1. So basically I just get to kill a 1/1 for free here. I guess from their perspective, maybe they don't care about the 1/1. Not getting to exile something with the Rasad's kind of a bummer. So I do have the option at the end of their turn to sack the Rasad if they don't play any creatures, which gives me a 4/1 menace, which pushes lethal through. No. Alright. They end up with a thing. How does Rasad compare to Brutal Cathar? For limited purposes, they're basically the same. Other than, I guess, in this deck, Rasad has a downside, being that it is a legendary. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so if we want to equip, I can only horn for 2? That's probably enough, right? Day Night was real? Was Day Night particularly real and limited, though? Okay, so 2, 2, 3. Yeah, I think this is enough. Is it? Does it actually matter? How can I lose if I go wide? I mean, against green-blue, I'm not sure. I guess I'm curious. I don't know if there's necessarily a reason to equip this horn this turn. Everything they have dies to a 4-power creature regardless. Alright, so 5, 7. Yeah, we can do 7. I don't know if going wide does anything particularly different from equipping the horn, but I think both probably win. Well, no, I mean, because I might need to sack 2 of them. Yeah, this is better. This is better. Equipping the horn wasn't really meaningful. This lets me pump both ghouls and still just be wide enough that they don't have enough blockers next turn. Yeah, these blocks are reasonable. I would love to kill the Shepherd and deny them life gain. I could choose to not kill the Muralists by sacking the Rasad. What dragons could they get? There's no lifelink dragons. It's probably fine. I mean, I guess at the bare minimum, the way they survive here is by finding, like, Mountain plus Breath Weapon or something insane. So not letting them thin their deck of things that aren't Breath Weapon is probably correct. I mean, there is a downside. The downside is that I leave them with a 4/3 in play. But I suppose the upside is that a 4/3 is mostly irrelevant to answering this board state. Yeah, the creatures I can think of that they could tutor don't get them out of this. Right, well, my out is that their out is having Breath Weapon in hand and top decking a mountain. Or the reverse, I suppose. Or, like, Prophetic Prism and thinning their deck of a dragon that doesn't cast that is, I guess, helping them with that hypothetical thing. There's also the blue adventure creature that taps stuff down, but I don't think that's a dragon. It's a rare. I think it's like an Ithalid or something. I think it's safe to not play around Breath Weapon. Well, but if Breath Weapon is the only possible card that could beat me, And if I can't think of anything that possibly exists in green-blue that beats me, then I should play around the stuff that's insanely unlikely, because I'm already playing around everything that's likely, no matter what I do. Well, not keeping this hand is painful. This is sad. But yeah, most of the powerful cards here are double white, so we do have to mulligan. Okay, this is still pretty reasonable. We can ship the Chwinga. Would it have been better to play around the Adventure for 2 less to play around a top deck under Simplify? Did they have any cards in hand at that point? Or rather, did they have any mana up? I guess they did have mana up. They had mana up the entire game. Oh, dear. Cards, 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 cards. Which one are we supposed to play? Ghoul, I guess. Kind of attacks better. Sort of. Maybe. How many 1-drop white spells do I have? Some. Alright, we'll go with Soldiers of the Watch. Alright, we'll get punished for Soldiers of the Watch. Still, Horn is pretty good against this board state if we manage to find more white sources, which hopefully we manage to do. I mean, the good news so far is that the opponent is not terribly fast at the moment. I kind of want to trade this Ghoul for the Priest just to slow things down as much as possible. It's not a resource-positive trade for me, and I've already mulliganed, but I have bombs in hand. I need time. Yuck. Okay, well, so much for time. It's like legitimately the most punishing possible draw for blocking with the Ghoul. Oh, dear. Okay, opponent also missing land drops. But they're missing land drops while not playing cards that they could, so they have stuff to do with their mana. Oh, me. Oh, my. Did they choose not to do that at sorcery speed? Oh, okay, that's why. Cool. Well, I'm dying. I can't even block because I need to be able to Humiliation the 4/1 Menace. Cool. Land drop? Okay. Land drop. Grim Bounty the Wanderer. Chump block the Paladin. Humiliation the 4/1 Menace. Okay. Well, sometimes you get given an unkeepable hand and then mulligan into a hand that doesn't actually do anything. Yeah. Okay. We're on the draw again. We have a non-functional hand with the bomb. Our mana's better than it was last time. Okay, alright. This is something. I don't think I have enough mana to make Soldiers of the Watch look good in this spot. Just mulligan to 3 cards at every single draw until I had at least a single land. Would you have stopped at 4 or even 5? In limited, it would depend on the hands I was looking at. I definitely think I would stop at 4. I don't think you can win 3. It might be correct to stop at 5 and just keep a no-lander. That's a possibility. Well, I can't attack with Shambling Ghast into Viconia, unfortunately. White-black just seems like the best color combination. I think it's probably the second best. I think red-black is probably, in my opinion, on average, the best in sealed. But white-black, I also believe, has probably a higher top ceiling of how good it can be. There's more... Well, no, there's not necessarily actually more bombs in white than there are in red. Red's the best color. I think either red-white or red-black is probably the best. But all of the Mardu combinations are good. Okay. Well, I'm willing to walk into your combat trick, opponent, because the alternative is not really appealing. Did you really think I wasn't going to block? Opponent? I can promise you I'm always going to block there. You should probably Dragon Fire before combat to get in 2 damage. Alright, let's exile that Viconia. I don't like exiling the Viconia, but it's probably correct. I'd rather answer it permanently so that they don't get to do their nasty Viconia card advantage thing eventually. Are you playing... Okay, I was going to say... Oh, that's a mistake. They shouldn't have exiled that creature, because now that creature isn't something they can exile with Viconia later. I was going to say, if they were playing the green combat trick that gives hexproof, I was going to be so confused. Am I to assume that they would probably block the Rasad with a Guildsworn Prowler? I could then Sewer Plague the Viconia, though. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Nah. We're probably fine. I think leaving up the Rescuer Schwinga to try to fizzle a removal spell on the Rasad or something is better. They also missed a land drop. They found a land drop. Am I going to Sewer Plague that Prowler if they pass through the turn? Oh, opponent, I care so little about that Prowler doing 2 damage to me right now. You have no idea. I have never not blocked any creature faster in my entire life. Nothing? Nothing. Nothing is curious. Okay. Play a land. Combat. Swings? Cute. So I could Sewer Plague the Prowler, but they draw a card. Or I could bounce the Rasad and then replay it and exile the Viconia again. I should probably just kill the Prowler and let them draw their card. Use the Unicorn? Wait. No, because it had Death Touch. I was going to say, I thought that didn't work. Why didn't that work? But yeah. Band Together causes the creature to actually deal the damage. So, Death Touch still applies. But it doesn't do combat damage? Doesn't matter. Death Touch is any kind of damage at all. Decline. Alright, well, Unicorn activation, a go, and Vigilante swings. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable block. Results in me getting a treasure, so I can double activate Unicorn if I draw a land. Gates you actually can specialize with, because they do still have the land type. The only card that isn't a colorless artifact that you can't specialize... No! Well, that's actually pretty awful. Is the Baldur's Gate. Isn't it supposed to be that they're supposed to fight for Death Touch activate? It is a fight. Well, it's a punch. Those creatures deal their damage to my creatures. Punished for not specializing. I mean, I didn't want to specialize instead of activating Unicorn, because that would have done less damage. Now, do they also have a removal spell for Unicorn? That'd be pretty gross. Yep. So if they specialize Viconia, then drawing a land forces them to chump block with Viconia. But they'll have the Rasad in hand still. But they'll be going to 1. Yeah, they discard the swamp, so the Rasad comes in and puts them to 3. Okay. I don't know that Vigilance matters here, but it's neat. Yep, that's the Viconia chump block. So now they Rasad and go to 3 and exile my Unicorn. So I have to swing with Chwinga and trade. Try to top deck something. If I top deck a land, I get to activate Gate. Gut. Fight Unicorn. Yeah, okay, that's better. Other than the part where it leaves them dead to a removal spell. That bit's not as good for them. Vampire Spawn would be cool. Champions of Tyr would also be cool. Although Champions of Tyr results in getting exiled by Rasad. Am I actually not okay with that? Huh. It might be that I'm supposed to bait my opponent into playing the Rasad first. Ooh, also, Horn is not a bad draw, and my life total is relatively stable. There's the Rasad, drain 2. Oh, make no mistake, this game is very losable. They absolutely can have enough life gain to win this game. Like, 1 Vampire Spawn puts this pretty close to deeply in favor for them. Well, Vampire Spawn plus, like, other stuff too. Grim Bounty. That's lethal last turn, which is amusing. Alright, time to go wide. Dragon's Breath is also a card. Currently that results in me getting my Chwinga back, which is not quite lethal. Actually, it would be lethal with the top deck of a land, because I could Grim Bounty as a removal. Oh, Skinos. That's horrifying if they were to find a white creature. Well, let's see. Currently 4 blockers for 5 creatures, 1 removal spell. If they swing with anything, I currently have lethal. They do not swing with anything. But also if I top deck Vampire Spawn, then we good. Life is fine. Life is fine. It's weird that we drew this Champions of Tyr and it just didn't actually matter. While we were empty-handed, no less. What a strange scenario to find ourselves in. Alright, opponent goes to 1, which makes my plan to play this card. They will do 2 more. If you bounce a gate with Chwinga, can you seek again? I don't know how that's coded. Activate only once? It's not... You know what? It's not pink text, so I don't think that it's been perpetually modified. I think if you bounce gate with Chwinga, you can activate again. Because if it was perpetually modified, it would have pink text. The game is pretty consistent about treating it that way. Alright. Keep a hand that has Skullport Merchant. I forgot this was in the deck. Have we even drawn this yet? Is there a sealed tournament that we're practicing for? Yes. There is a sealed arena qualifier this weekend. There will be a pre-qualifier on Friday, if you're not qualified, but want to try to qualify. And then Saturday, Sunday is the main event. Alright, Karlach continues to be a very troublesome card, but I suppose we always have the option of just not killing it ever. And then it can't specialize from the graveyard. It can still specialize from in play, but yeah. Alright, Shambling Gas isn't terrible. Do I want to play Sepulchral Ghoul Attack? Probably not. Doesn't sound great. Swordblade's good for Karlach, kind of, but they can still specialize and bring it back. Okay. Yeah, now that's a bigger Karlach. That admittedly is kind of a... What? Opponent? What are these attacks? Why? What? You know Craving doesn't make you attack with all of your creatures, right? Okay. Good talk. I'm going to play my champions now with protection. So I guess I win? I mean... Do I race? Do I chump block this thing for a couple of turns? I don't really need to. I guess I race? What happens if they steal my champions? I'm going to win this game in the long run, so I'm just going to play safe. It makes it a decent answer. In green-red Karlach, this isn't as scary as it could be. The white Karlach is the scariest Karlach. So thankfully we don't have to deal with that. Should I kill this Karlach? Give them the Craving back and the Karlach in the graveyard? I probably should, rather than take 5 damage. That's probably fine. I'm scared about giving them all these resources back, though. Okay, well. Alternatively, we could just win the game. So that works. It turns out, 1-mana protection spells continue to be very, very good in this format. I feel like some of the most consistent advice I am giving is that Armor of Shadows is like a solid card you should play. I know people have realized that the Griffin that has the 1-mana indestructible combat trick attached to it is really good. I think people haven't realized that that card is like 70% indestructible combat trick is really good, 30% card advantage attached to your really good combat trick is good, but like Armor of Shadows is still just really good. 1-mana combat tricks that actively swing impactful combats are a big deal in tempo-oriented formats, where the speed at which you get ahead on board and stay ahead on board is relevant. And this is very much one of those. Oh, cool. Trophy! Whee! I continue to be making gems faster than I'm losing them, which makes having spent all this money on gems kind of silly looking. Yay!